Hello everyone, this is Darwell20, and welcome to episode 51 of Darwell20's Let's Play series. I forgot to remove that button last episode. Hey, guess what? I'm getting ready to get back to automating Flux networks, because last episode we started looking at automating it, and I thought modular routers had an option for left-clicking a block with the activator in addition to right-clicking it, and it turns out that is untrue. So, we needed to come up with an alternate plan, and as a result, we started looking into integrated dynamics, which is an extremely powerful mod. Like, holy cow, is it insane how powerful this mod is. Literally, every mechanic of every block can be read and measured and detected and acted upon. You can do literally anything. Let me show you some examples of stuff you can do. So I think if I put a block reader, do I have a block reader? Did I make a block reader? I taught it all the recipes, so we can see all the recipes for things. So basically with this mod, there are readers and writers. Readers will read information. Like, for example, a block reader will read information about a block. So I just made one of those, which is cool. Let's see, where did it go? There it is, okay? And then we're also gonna need some cables. So I'll just craft up a few of them. We only get 3 at a time? Okay, well give me like 10-ish. And that should be good to start with. So let's take a look at what we can read. So if we throw down a block reader next to a block, and then we threw down a display panel on it, if we right-click on the block reader, we can start seeing information about it. Whether or not a block is there in the world, what dimension it is, what the X, Y, and Z of the block are, what the type of block is, and then if there's any NBT on the tile entity there. That's interesting. It's either blank or like really low, so we're gonna have to see. And if you take a variable card and stick it in the left slot, it'll connect that variable card to the data you're trying to look at. So for example, if we connected, to the block type, and then we went in here and did the block, it'll tell us on the panel exactly what it is, Advanced Purifying Factory. That's cool. And then look at all the NBT data that is available on this block. This is all the data that is stored on the tile entity of this block. I think they're called block entities now, but, I've been calling them tile entities for 10 years, so I'm going to keep doing that. Apologies. But this is basically how mods store data about, the block itself. So you can see all the information here that is available. You can literally see everything about it. And if we were to, for example, let's see, you're the Advanced Purifying Factory, right? So if we got, do we have any raw ore handy? Probably not. Can I throw cobalt or nickel in here? Let's see. Nope, doesn't look like it. How about nickel? Can that go in there? Nope. How about silver? Can that go in there? Nope. That's funny. Okay. How about zinc? Can zinc go in there? Nope. Okie dokie. Let's see. I think iron might be able to go in there, like raw iron ore. So look, you can see information changing as it's running. How cool is that? Neat. So you can literally read anything, and you can read individual pieces of information. So if you wanted to, for example, emit a redstone signal, if sorting was 0 versus 1, you could absolutely do that. It's ridiculous the amount of cool stuff you can do with integrated dynamics. Now, I think there's as usual, a wrench that we might want to get our hands on to make life a little bit easier. So I'm not going to go through all of integrated dynamics in the series because literally insane to how much stuff you can do with this mod. It is the most powerful way to read information about blocks. Just 100% bananas how cool it is, right? Let's take a look at this one, block reader. So if we just wanted to read what's on a vanilla chest, we could absolutely do that and find out what kind of data Mojang stores on its vanilla chest. If I just put a bucket in there. Oh, he did decide to do that, didn't he? Okay. Well, let's do that, and then I'm going to put like this, this, and this in there. It'll block it, so it won't be able to go anywhere. And then if we said, hey, you know that NBT card that I had a minute ago? Let's read the chest's NBT. There you go. And you can see what items are in there. And you can see the owner. Darwell20, that's me. How cool is that? Not too shabby, right? And you can see what items are in which slots. You can kind of read it there. So really super powerful and cool mod, right? If I put the bucket in there, see how it says bucket, but then it went away real quick because it moved, right? Super cool. Very, very good mod. So big fan of integrated dynamics. Oh, and by the way, if you want, you can reset your variable cards by just crafting them by themselves so that it goes away. So there's a bunch of other stuff we can do with integrated dynamics. We can do things, so like this was all about reading the world, and there's entity readers, so you can read information about entities in front of it. There's machine readers. There's all kinds of stuff that's super cool, right? And then there's writers, so you can do things like, write information to the world. More often than not, I mess with the redstone writer, but I guess there's other stuff you could do. But then there's world interaction stuff. So you can, transfer items around between inventories using these interfaces here, so between chests. You can also import and export items from the world. And you can also do that with fluids, and you can also do that with blocks. And then finally, the piece de resistance is the player simulator. It can do all the things that a player can do. Well, maybe not all the things, but a lot of the things, a ton of the things, lots of the things that a player can do, including left-click blocks for us. So what if we got the following? What if we said, first off, let's detect when there's an entity in front of this block, okay? So if I just did this, right, and put entity reader here, okay? And then I want to put the display panel here. The display panel is a really nice way to see what's working, right? So if we look at this, we can see all the information that the entity reader can tell you, right? So in terms of entities, right, aspect entities, we can see stuff, which is cool. And what we might want to detect is if there's any entities there. So if I did that and put this here, you'll see currently it's a big old blank, right? Now what happens if I drop an item into that space? Items are entities. So if you drop items into the world, make sure it's actually in that block space, you'll be able to see all kinds of cool stuff. Look at that. How super bananas neat is that? Huh? Not too bad. Now we can also check for players. We can check for entity, the selected entity in the target space, item frame. That's pretty cool. So what I would say is, let's say we want to see the first entity on the list, right? So if we got this list out of here and we replaced it with this entity, okay, what this is going to do is show us the first entity on the list. So see how it's logic cable? If I put another entity there, it's not showing it, okay, because there's two pieces of information here. This is a list of entities. So aspect is entities. It's showing us what entities exist. And the type is list, meaning it'll list all of them, like multiple objects, multiple entries, right? If we go down here to entity, okay, the selected entity in the target space, and we can see the properties that we can define as the list element. So right now it's 0, but if I changed it to 1, okay, and then we redid the card in that space, right? So entity type 1, and then connected the card to that. What happens now is I think it won't or shouldn't show us the first entity in the list, but it'll show us the second. Cool? And not the third. Okay? How neat is that? I like it. I like it. So let's use integrated dynamics to detect if redstone is there. Sound cool? All right, so this is where things start to get complicated. So what we probably want to do is check for the first entity in the list, because almost every time there should mostly just be redstone there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to detect entity in position 0. Okay, so if we do that and we put that entity card in here and we got redstone dust. Sweet. Redstone dust. Excellent. Cool. Now we can probably, get more information about that entity if we wanted to. But for now, we're going to take that variable card, and what we're going to get is a variable store. What this does is it lets us store information about the variables and reference them and compare them to other bits of information. Okay. So for example, right, if we wanted to access this item here, the portable logic programmer, which I've already crafted because I crafted most of this stuff off camera. But the portable logic programmer is a way to analyze information, right? So if I right-clicked this guy, okay, now remember, this card that we defined represents the first entity on the ground in front of this entity reader, okay? That's what it's doing, and it's telling us what it is. So if we look at it, it's referencing there's nothing there, and now I drop a cable, there's a logic cable there. So whatever's in front of this entity reader, and if it's multiple, it's going to give us the first item on that list. Whatever's in front of it is going to be displayed by this card, okay? So now what we want to do is we want to go in here and take a look at this entity card, okay? If we see there's a lot of pieces of information that we can do. We can do a ton of logic around this. But what I want to do is I want to figure out if the entity in front of it is equal to redstone dust. Sound cool? Okay. So I'm not entirely sure how to do this, but we can see entity item, operator item, category entity, input type entity, output type item. What this does is it will tell us what item is in the world if the entity in front of the block is in fact an item. So all I do is I put this card in here, and then I give it an output card, okay? And what this should be is now, if I place the entity card in the variable store, and I put the item card in here, and then we drop something in the world, we'll see, now it's kind of showing me a little something different, isn't it? Isn't that cool? You can see that it's showing me redstone. And not only that, but it's also telling me the count of redstone. That's kind of neat, right? Redstone dust. It's an item. So the trick here, right? And if I stand myself in front of it, I wonder if I can shrink my way into there. I bet I can, right? It should work. See how it's like not displaying anything? Now, if I changed this out with this variable card, because I'm not an item, I'm a player, right? He may not be detecting me too well. Maybe because I'm shrunk. Well, he might have detected me. Hang on. I thought I saw something on there. Yeah, see how there's like a thing there? Let's see. Can I tell you ticks per operation? I'm going to make this only check for me every 1 second. So if I stand here for a sec and then I move, see direwolf 20? Yep, it's detecting me. So if I put this away and put this in here, I should not be an item, so it's not going to tell you anything about me. Cool. All right, so let's set this guy back to 1 tick per operation, and that should be much better. Cool. So we now know what item exists in the world. So let's take this item card. So now this card represents the item that's in front of it. This card represents the entity, and what we did is we used the programmer here to say, take whatever the entity is in front of the entity reader, and if it's an item, tell me what item it is. And that's what this card represents, whatever item is in front of it. Okay? So now I'm going to get another item card, and I'm just going to put redstone dust in there. Okay? And what this is it's a hard-coded value of it's just redstone dust. That's it. It's this card represents redstone dust. This card represents the item in front of the block. This card represents redstone dust, period. Okay? Now what I want to do is I want to compare those two and see if they're equal. So I'm just going to check for equality. Equals. And we're going to say the item that's in front of the block equals the redstone dust. And then I'm going to get another variable card there. And this is a Boolean output, and it's going to be true or false. So if I put this in here, and now remember, in order to reference these things, we need to have all the previous variables inside the variable store. So the error we're getting there is variable 3 and 4 could not be found in a variable store. So I need to put variables 3 and 4 inside the variable card store, and you'll see it's currently false, right? Because the item in front of the entity reader is not redstone dust. If I put a logic cable there, it is currently false, because the item in front of the entity reader is not redstone dust. If I put redstone dust there, it's going to read true, because the item in front of the entity reader is redstone dust. Cool? So with the variable card here, or the variable programmer, we can easily manipulate almost any piece of information about an entity, a block, the data inside the block. We can read almost anything about Minecraft, and then determine data about it. And then we can do literally almost anything with that information. It's extremely powerful, like I said. So now that we have a way to detect if there's redstone dust in front of this card, what we want to do is do something about that, right? So what I can do is I'm going to take this card, and I'm going to set up this guy. So if I place my player simulator here, right, we want to have this do something. And this list of stuff in the simulator determines when that's going to happen and how that's going to happen. There's a lot of different ways that we can manipulate and make this player simulator do stuff, but all I really want to do is click with an empty hand. That's it. So the top option here you can see is blue because it's of type Boolean. So this is a true or false, whether it should try to click with an empty hand. That's it. You could also specify, because it's orange here, this is a type integer, so you can specify, I think maybe like how many times you can click Click with the given amount of items. Okay, that makes sense. Click item. So this is an item card. Click with the given item. So if you need to click with a specific item, you would specify the item right here. And then there's a bunch of different options inside this that you can mess with, right? So I'm going to say, hey, click with an empty hand, but I want to change some options, right? Round robin? Nah, we don't need that. Right click? No, we're not right clicking, actually. We want to left click, okay? Right hand? Sure. Continuous click? Yeah, why not? Sneak? Doesn't matter. And then XYZ offsets, we're going to basically click right in the middle of the block. If we needed to offset where in the block that was going to go, we could specify that there. So right now we've got this set up to click with a left hand, right? Left click, right? With your right hand, okay? So now what I want to do, remember that Boolean variable that detects if there's redstone there? Well, what if I told it, hey, when that variable equals true, that's when I want you to click. And that's what I'm going to put right here. So remember, before we said, if there's redstone there, this variable will be true. If there's anything but redstone, it will be false. So watch what happens when I put logic cables there. Nothing. Watch what happens when I put redstone dust there. Ho-ho! It worked. So what happened is, the entity reader detected redstone dust, the Boolean card changed to true. Because it's true, it said you can now click with an empty hand. It left clicked, and then the redstone dust was gone, so it stopped. Questions? All right, so next stage of this design is let's make sure that a accumulator can pick stuff up. So I'm going to have a deny list here for redstone dust. So basically, well, maybe I should just make it an allow list for flux dust, because that's realistically all we want it to automatically pick up. So in theory at this point, if we drop redstone into the world, boom. I didn't mean to aim for that, but it worked, right? But flux dust should get picked up, right? But nothing else will, right? So if I threw redstone here, for example, it will not ever get picked up. Cool? So that works for me. And then we just need an importer. Probably with a little bit of a speed upgrade. So there's your importer. Let's throw a speed upgrade in there. Just one. Hell, maybe two. Never hurts to have a couple. You know, Dyer's impatient. I don't want to be waiting around. I'm like, let's go. So boom, with the two speed upgrades, and then the flux dust gets poofed, right? So the vacuumulator suck up the flux dust, and then it lands inside of our system. Sweet. Sweet. Now, how should we handle dropping the item into the world? How about a world item exporter? I could do that. And if we're going to do that, then with integrated dynamics, we're also going to need an item interface. Okay? And then we're going to need a chest of some description. Okay? And what we're going to want is our cables here. And then I'm going to stick my world item exporter here. And you're going to export items. And we're going to want some kind of chest to exist. And I'm debating where that chest should be. I kind of want the chest to be on top of the vacuumulator, which means I'm probably going to want to move the importer, which should be fine. So how about we importer here with this cable like so. Okay, you get your speed upgrades back. I'm going to stick right there the item interface and the chest. So here's how integrated dynamics item interfaces work. Number one, ticks per operation is how quickly it can operate. Priority system, pretty self-explanatory. Interface channel. Every interface has a channel, kind of like laser I/O channels and other systems. So if you want two interfaces to be able to talk to each other, they have to be on the same channel. And if we look at integrated dynamics, the interface basically says you can interact with this inventory, so it can go in and out, right? You can also have a filtering item interface that allows you to filter. Never played with those before, that's cool. Importer will pull items out of an inventory and put it somewhere on the network that has an item interface on it. And exporters will push items out of the network from a chest that has an item interface onto it into an adjacent chest. You can also do world item importer and exporter. Now, technically, we could have picked up our flux dust with a world item importer, But because the flux dust kind of tends to fly around, I wanted the vacuumulator to pick it up from a large area. Cool. And I also wanted to make sure we didn't pick up redstone dust, which is why I use the vacuumulator, because we get to use a filter. Cool. So now if I want a world item exporter, right, place all item entities is just Boolean true. Place item entities. That's a count. Place item entity. I think we can specify what item. Place item entities. That's a list. I know that. Operator NBT. Export all items to entities. That's cool. All kinds of bananas level stuff. But I think place all item entities. Place all items into the world. Works for me. Right? So now if I open up this, we'll see first off what channel are we on. The same channel, 0, as this channel. Okay, so if we had multiple chests or multiple interface, like we could filter it by channel, but we don't need to worry about that because we're making a pretty simple system. Round robin, no. Dispense, offset 050505. Lifespan in ticks. This is how long the item will last in the world. Pickup delay in ticks. How long it'll wait before it's allowed to be picked up. The velocity, how fast it moves. Yaw, pitch, transfer rate 64. Okay, cool. So let's put items in here and see how it kind of works out. So I might need to shrink myself for this actually, just to make sure that this is groovy. So in theory, my goodness, shrink is hard to manage. In theory, if I give you a true for place all item entities, it should just immediately start dropping items into the world. So if I get a Boolean true, I just put all my variable cards in there. Boolean true, so like this just means, hey, this always represents the Boolean value of true. And then I place this into this slot up here. Hey, it worked. Sweet. That's cool. Now I'm going to de-equip my magnet here, wherever he is. All right, so any item that goes in here, like a wrench, should be spit out into the world. Okay, that's neat. Now I might want to reduce your velocity a bit. So let's modify this guy's velocity to be just 0. Can I do that? Now if I dropped items, I'm hoping it just kind of plops right in front of it. That's what I'm aiming for here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That works pretty nice, right? Now can I make you run faster? Ticks per operation? How about every tick? It's dire and patient. In fairness, now remember, the more things tick, the more server CPU use they use. So if you're playing on a server, be respectful of your other players on that server, and don't set things to operate every tick unless you really, really need them to. I'm playing in a single-player world, I'm only slowing down my own game, and my game is not that slow, so I think we're in good shape. But if I was having lag issues, I might want to be cognizant of being careful with that. I think I might need to set this guy, that's also ticks per operation 1. Okay. Make it 2. Interesting. He's still taking a bit. Maybe I'll make you 2 as well. 1 might just be a little too fast for him. Yeah, 2 ticks per operation. Is there anything in here about how quickly this goes? I'm not going to worry too much about it if it takes a few seconds. So now watch what happens. Effectively, right, look how much flux I have right now. I'm going to take my flux out of the system here. So we have 0 flux available, right? If I put, you ready for this? 31, let's make it 32. It doesn't matter. Redstone dust in this chest. We should wind up with 32 redstone dust inside the refined storage network. One would think. This is the part where you work. What's your beef, stranger? Yeah, redstone dust. Right. So entry 0, this should be working. Do you not like that it's 32? It might be that it's 32. It might be that it's 32. And if that's the problem, let me see about fixing that. Well, let's test it with 1 first and see if that's the real problem, right? So if I pick this up and I put 1 redstone dust in there, and it spits out. Perfect, right? but 2 redstone dusts. Yeah, see, it's trying to match the exact item stack. I said 1 redstone when I set this up, right? So let's try and match the individual items rather than the count. Let's see if I can do that, right? So this is the item that's in front of the thing, and this is the redstone dust item, right? So what can I do with you? Item stack. Input type block, output top item. No. Size, max size, stackable, damageable. Strength can harvest block is fluid stack. Burn time. Stored capacity. Item by name. Input type string, output type item. Input type, that's one I already have. Item frame components. Ingredient stuff. Input type 1 named, output type string. I think what I could do is this. So if we take this item here, and we get this is a string value now. So if we were to look at this guy, this should be the value of whatever item is in front of it, a string value of the item name. So if I did something like this, it should just be the bucket thing. Yeah. So that's just, instead of representing the item, we're now representing the name of the item, right? So what we want to do is we want to put that in there. So that's the name of the item in front of the block. Okay. Then this is redstone dust. Let's get the name of that. So the name of redstone dust should just be redstone dust. Okay. So we'll put this guy in here. So this is the name redstone dust. So like this is always going to say redstone dust no matter what. This is the name of the item in front of it. So for example, crescent hammer. Right? So now we want to compare the names of the items. So for this Boolean value, we're going to take this out, and we're basically going to say equals, does the name of the item in front of it equal the name of redstone dust? And we'll overwrite this equals value here. Now we add these 2 variables here, and then we do this here. And now, regardless of the stack size, it should work. So if I put 32 in here, do what now? You're still related. Redstone dust 32. What? Well, that didn't work the way I wanted it to, did it? No, sir. I could do contains, I guess. One string contains another string? So, okay, hold on. So this is the string redstone dust, and this is the string of whatever's in front of it. So we will do contains, and what that will do is, if the given substring is contained within the given string. So what order do I put that in? We'll try it this way. If this contains this, and then we'll, I need this guy again. So if the name of the item in front of the thing, like redstone dust 32, contains the string redstone dust, this may work. This could work. Please work. What? Maybe it's backwards. It might be backwards. I'm not clear on how that contains works. 31. That. So let's do it the opposite way. So we'll do contains this and this to Boolean true. Hey, now we're cooking. Cool. Right? And now if we look in here, we'll see we're getting our flux. Nice. There's the 32 flux we promised ourselves. All right, so whether it's 1 redstone dust or it's 15 redstone dust, it doesn't matter. Ta-da! We done did it, folks. But if it's stone bricks, nope. That's what I would like to see. How cool is that? How cool is that? Boom. Instant. Instant. And technically we don't need this display guy here no more, so I'll get rid of him. But how cool is that? Huh? Huh? I like it. I think that works. You guys tell me, does that work? So now all we have to do, and this is exceedingly easy at this point, we get a crafter, we stick it on this chest, we give it a cable, and then we go up to our home base, and all we gotta say, you ready for this? Insert redstone dust, output flux dust. Right? Because we've just built a machine that crafts this for us. So into the crafter goes this guy. Okay, now watch what happens. If we want, let's say, 10 flux dust and hit start, it should put 10 redstone dust into the chest, spit it out in front, and then vacuumulator it up, and then we'll get 10 flux dust. Oh, that's cool. It did 9 and then it did 1, but it doesn't matter. We'll just put that there and then it'll complete the craft. I was standing too close. I thought it was done. But yes, it did the thing. How cool is that? How cool is that? Not bad, right? Pretty compact. Pretty nice looking. 10 out of 10. Should be perfect. We'll find out if it's not. So that's a pretty good wrapping up point for the episode, I think, right? So yeah, let's wrap it up here. Okay, we can do that. Now, you guys don't have power. Oh, that's right, I put power there. I forgot. I was going to say, like, why did I get rid of that power? Oh, right. I remember now. So, hey, that's pretty neat, right? I mean, that's kind of neat. It's kind of neat. Darryl20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time. We want to continue to amp up power and whatnot. Everything's cool here? Everything seems cool here. We're doing pretty good on power. I mean, we're obviously using a lot of lava. I still need to, like, better with lava. Maybe next episode we'll do that. Let's do lava next episode. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a lava bucket so I don't forget. And then I'm going to log in tomorrow, and I'm going to be like, why do I have a lava bucket in my inventory? And I'll be like, oh, right. I'm supposed to get lava going today. Cool? All right, wrapping up point. Darryl20 sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.